Hi, I'm Chance Zapata, and we're talking about hash algorithms in cryptography today. So, before we get started, I want to just explain a little bit of the basis of cryptography. Cryptography is obscuring data so unauthorized individuals cannot access it. It's used to keep sensitive data safe, such as passwords, health information, or even text messages, just really anything that you don't want other people to see. And two important words to know are plaintext and ciphertext. When you have a message that has not been obscured yet, that's called plaintext. When you obscure the message so that it is not readable anymore, it's considered ciphertext. And we'll talk about how to get between the two right here. So when you transform plain text into ciphertext, it's called encryption. And the reverse of that is decryption. It's when you have a scrambled message and you turn it back into the original message. So hash algorithms can be used for encryption, and that's how their main use in cryptography. So a hash algorithm has two unique characteristics usually. And one, it's a one-way function, meaning it's irreversible. And what that means is when you have the plain text, you can create the ciphertext. The plain text goes through the hash algorithm, and then it creates a ciphertext. But once you have the ciphertext, you can't go back to the original text. And every x has exactly one y. So for this, hash algorithms are functions, and what this means is for every plain text message you have, there's a unique ciphertext. So there's not two different messages, plain text messages, that will create the same ciphertext. And there's also there's no way for one plain text to give you two different ciphertexts. There's only one x for one y. So the MD5 algorithm is a specific hash algorithm used in cryptography, and I have a little diagram here. You have the plain text, whatever your message is, it goes into the algorithm, and then you get the ciphertext. So in this little table, you see the plain text of the word dog with a uppercase D gives you the hash, or that's the ciphertext, specifically for a hash algorithm, of that meaningless string of characters and numbers. The lowercase d gives you a completely different string, and the word cat gives you another string. So as you see from this, there's not an obvious way to reverse it. There doesn't seem to be any pattern, and that's the point. Once you have the hash, you cannot get the plain text from it, but you can always get the hash if you have the plain text. And the MD5 in particular is insecure, so you won't want to use that one. But it's one of the older ones, so I want to show it. So the SHA-256 algorithm is another algorithm. It uses 256-bit encryption, or for its encryption, and the plain text and the hashes are below. They're significantly longer than the MD5. This algorithm was designed by the NSA, and it's used by the US government today. It's extremely secure. So why is this useful? The reason why this is useful is because mostly because of passwords. You don't want to store passwords, but you can store the ciphertext, because if the ciphertext is stolen, they can't get the original plaintext from it. But if the plaintext is stolen, then you've lost your password. So when a website asks you for your password, what it should do is it takes the password, creates the hash, and then compares the hash to what it knows your hash should be. So that way you can get around having to store passwords in anything. And if you want to know how hard this would be to break, and theoretically, because right now no one's broken it, for the SHA 256 algorithm. You can watch this cool video by three Blue, One Brown. He animates it and everything. It's about 5 minutes long, but it's kind of cute and insightful. And thank you guys for listening.